Coming up today on Locked On Texas Tech, Tech Hoops back at United Supermarkets Arena. We'll hear from Red Raider head coach Grant McCaslin on riding that offensive and defensive roller coaster the last handful of games, and also a football roster roundup. Coming at you next on Locked On Texas Tech.
You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We're going to start this thing off right. Raider! Everything runs through Lubbock.
Great to be with you again on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day, always free and available on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts with the only Chris Level. I'm Casey Cowan. Chris, great to see you again, and we got a bucket full of fun to dive into once again here today. We'll get to a roster roundup as things continue to remain fluid over in the football building, including a couple of new scholarship announcements. Always fun to see those happen in real time. And we will also obviously get you set for this game day episode. Texas Tech Hoops back on the floor from United Supermarkets Arena coming up this evening. Omaha fitting the description of the next potential victim. We'll get to some of what Coach McCaslin talked about as far as what he's seen over the last few games offensively, defensively, clearly some things to like. Clearly some things to work on. But first, Chris, let's take a listen to Red Raider head coach Grant McCaslin talking about getting back to the LBK, getting back to United Supermarkets Arena. Here is Grant McCaslin.
I feel like our team's definitely improved in a lot of areas and had some growth. We've got to get better in some areas, but it'll be great to be back in the USA. A lot of respect for Omaha. Coach Crutchfield has them super aggressive. They get to the free throw line. They do a good job of taking care of the basketball. They don't give up many threes. It's a good team, and they've been playing better, and you can tell they've had good growth. So excited about the opportunity.
Always great to be back on your home floor, Chris. And I don't know about you, but I'm kind of feeling like, maybe we'll see a little bit different team coming up tonight than the last time we saw them at the USA.
It's been a long time since they've played there. It feels like, yeah. And they've played 4 meaningful games away from Lubbock, and I guess split those 2-2. But I think you've grown a bit as a team, and I think I look at like the last 3 of those 4 games. You've only averaged 8 turnovers a game. Huge difference from kind of the first set of games during the season, and I think you either won or were in all those last 3 because of how well you took care of the ball. I mean, last time we saw this team, they played 45 minutes of basketball and only turned it over 7 times, but also had 23 assists. I mean, you have an assist to turnover ratio on nights like that, and you're going to win most of them. Now, it didn't work out for you against Butler, but I think that is something to pay attention to if they can continue it. But it's funny because all the games we're talking about were not in Lubbock in front of your crowd, because we've talked about too, maybe trying to do too much, maybe trying to impress your fans, whatever it may be, just haven't played as crisp and clean from taking care of the ball standpoint at home as you have away from your own building. And, this is an Omaha team that they're very aggressive. They get to the free throw line. They shoot on average about 23 free throws a game. Making about 16 or 17 of those. Chris Crutchfield is a guy that coached for Lon Kruger for years on the OU staff. So he's been in Lubbock, I want to say 8 or 9 times. He was there for the Trae Young game. He was there when Keenan Evans, I think, beat Oklahoma, several years ago. Anyway, but they'll be good. North Texas and Omaha played last year, and it's funny because I think Omaha was set to play North Texas and Texas Tech this year, but then Grant leaves one job for the other, and I think Coach Crutchfield has even talked about I wasn't sure we were going to get either game. North Texas may have canceled on us, and Grant may have gotten the job and been like, hey, we're not doing that. But no, it ended up they've already played North Texas again this year, and all that, but healthy respect between these 2 head coaches, and it's good to be back at home, and we'll see. The other guy that I would toss out that's played really well, it's kind of changed since we last saw, is Devin Cambridge. Has started to score a lot more, averaging I think 14 points a game in his last 4 games, and he's been a little more, the right word is not selfish, but he's been a little more offensive minded instead of being passive. And I think it's benefited. You've benefited from it. And Joe Toussaint has also taken his game to just another level with the last time we saw him a double-double. He's got a 3-to-1 assist to turnover ratio right now and playing tons of minutes, still scoring, taking care of the ball. He's just been unbelievable so far. I don't know how much more he can honestly give you than what he's given you so far. But yeah, hopefully the boys bounce back and play good ball tonight.
Yeah, if you'd have told me prior to the season, okay, this is what you're getting out of Toussaint, I would have said that's plenty. He's more than filling his role, and hopefully he'll have some guys continue to show up around him. Cambridge, I mean, it's apropos that you say next level or taking it to the next level. I feel like that dude, I've seen elevation from him in every game so far. I really didn't anticipate that. Of course, I'd never seen him dribble a basketball in my life prior to him being in a Red Raider uniform, so I didn't quite know what to expect. But he's got some explosiveness to him. Had a tomahawk there in Butler and has had a couple of other nice slams as well, some putbacks and things like that. That's been fun to watch. And whenever you talked about a guy who has taken his game to the next level, I wasn't sure which direction you were going to go, because we've also got a Big 12 newcomer of the week to talk about in Chance McMillan, who was just one off of the school record for 3-point shots made, knocking down 8 of them. I don't know how sustainable that is, obviously. I don't know that that's necessarily the expectation, but could he develop into a double-digit kind of scorer for you? I don't know. I feel a lot better about it now than I did just a week or two ago.
I can't believe we've sat here and had a conversation for as long as we have, and I botched it. Turnover on me. I just fumbled it right there. I threw it out of bounds. I, just airballed a free throw, and they blow the whistle. Like, nope, nobody can rebound it. It's I didn't bring up Chance McMillan. I'm an idiot. Yeah, I appreciate you swerving us back onto the road right there, because the dude just bombed in. He was hotter than the face of the sun. 8 of 10 from deep.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, and I absolutely do think he's a double digit. Like, I mean, this is what he's here to do. And, when you have a night like that, when you have a night like that, what do you think Coach Crutchfield's team has been told in their scouting report leading up to this game? Do not give him open looks. So he's got to be willing to be more of a 3-level scorer. And it's not that he's just settling for threes. I mean, he was open. These were in the flow of the game and all those things. But, he's going to have to work for those looks now, because I think teams are going to try to take those away so he can use it to his advantage too, and kind of shot fake and drive and do some different things and maybe get downhill a little bit. But yeah, he's it will be on. I've sat in these things for years when you look at an opposing team, and whether you're playing them in February, if they went 8 for 10 from 3 in a game in December, that is typically at least mentioned to the opposition, just so you know, hey, I told you, I tried to tell you, that he's got this in his bag. So I know it was like 6 weeks, 2 months ago, but anyway, Chance McMillan will now have that, associated with him going forward, which is not a bad thing. Hopefully he can come close to replicating it as we go forward.
Yeah, no question. And attacking the basket, without relenting is a good recipe to continue to get a guy like that open looks. There are only so many defenders on the floor, and if you continue to get to the rim or try to get to the rim like they have, and Pop Isaac's another guy to mention. We may sort of take it for granted by now, but had been on a little bit of a rough night, but was looking a little bit more comfortable. Still wasn't his best shooting night. We know what he's capable of, and it wasn't like he hit his ceiling in Indiana, but was good to see him back contributing in a big way on the offensive end.
As somebody close to Pop Isaacs once told me, and I trusted this statement because it's dead on accurate, he can score with his eyes closed. He's just a scorer, like in every sense of the word. Yeah, maybe on some nights there's more volume shots or whatever, and and he's not, but he's also capable of going 6 for 6 too. He just scores. I mean, and we the day after that Butler game, I kind of just glossed over the fact that he got to the rim and got it to overtime. And that's the second kind of, was the second time in 3 games that he'd had a key play at the buzzer, and he won the game versus Northern Iowa. And this one, he gets you to the, he gets you to overtime because you had to have it. And, but yeah, Pop's the last guy. He's grinding, man.
Talking about some of the evolution of some of these individuals, what we've seen over the last handful of games. Let's get to some bigger picture thoughts there. And you touch on one of them as far as what you'll need to do on the glass, but some of what Coach McCaslin has seen on the offensive end, from the defensive end, from his team over the last handful of games. Here's Red Raider head coach Grant McCaslin. First, today's episode brought to you by Jase Medical, and I hope this podcast is a great escape from the nutso realities of life, but just because it is an escape doesn't mean those realities have gone away. And one of the latest pieces of wildness I've heard, according to the FDA, pharmacies are running out of antibiotics right in the middle of flu season. Can you imagine how helpless you'd feel if your spouse or kids were sick while a supply chain issue kept them from the medication they needed? You don't have to, because of the peace of mind you're going to get with Jase Medical and the Jase Case. The Jase Case is a pack of 5 different antibiotics that treat a long list of bacterial illnesses, including respiratory infections, sinus issues, dermatological infections, and many more. These things can affect anybody, so be one of those anybodies that goes to jasemedical.com right now to receive your 12-month supply of your daily medication. And remember to use our promo code LOCKEDON at checkout for a discount as well. At jasemedical.com, you're going to complete a physician assessment that'll then be reviewed by a board-certified physician, and your medications will be dispensed by a licensed pharmacy at a fraction of the regular cost. Never been more important to be prepared, so take the quick step to do so for your family and go to jasemedical.com and use our promo code LOCKEDON for $20 off your purchase. With Jase Medical, some of what Coach McCaslin has seen on the offensive end, from the defensive end, from his team over the last handful of games. Here's Red Raider head coach Grant McCaslin.
I think anytime you play that level of talent and you've got to do it in that short amount of time, really, you get to see your growth, but you also get to see, like, what's the compounding effect of the effort that it takes, and then how do you get better? So to me, it looked like we got so much better in the Michigan game and then took a huge step back defensively in the Butler game. And really, the atmosphere had a lot to do with our early jitters. We took ourselves out of plays and gambled a lot, and we hadn't been doing that, and we'd been really solid defensively in the Michigan game. I felt like we had a real tight, and then all of a sudden, we did some uncharacteristic things that I think the atmosphere contributed to, and it felt like guys were trying to do a lot. And that's the balance of understanding, like, the way the games are played and how some teams you can't give advantages to, and Butler was one of those teams. I think one part of that is how do we get a little more depth to our rotation. I think that'll help us defensively. Like, when you get some continuity on offense, then you can understand where people are going to be, and you see our confidence grow on that end. But I think because we played less guys and we got more confidence offensively, we lost an edge defensively and rebounding wise, and maybe those opportunities that we were going every time defensively, offensively rebounding, or defensively we're showing physicality. We had some stretches where we weren't playing with as much energy as we had been. And it's probably a residual effect of being on the road in the Bahamas and then going on the road, and then in addition to that, playing less guys. So got to find a few more guys that can contribute in real ways, and just keep finding the energy that it takes to do those things that are important every possession.
Scoring is great. It's necessary to win a game, Chris. 95 is nice to see. I think 83 in regulation against Butler. But if there's really one thing I'm looking to see getting back to the USA tonight and moving forward, was some of that return to some of what we had seen defensively done so well. And I would guess that maybe Coach McCaslin might agree with that as he starts there.
Oh, he would very much agree. I think he loved scoring 95 points. That's great, but he was disgusted with his. And again, it's a really good offensive team you played that night.
Sure.
They shot it well in front of us, pretty much a sold out crowd.
Hit their average, right? I think you said 82, 83 or something coming in.
They averaged 80 a game,
and them.
That's right. And so. And I that's the last thing I would be worried about with a Grant McCaslin coach team. Again, big picture is defensively the growth. And again, I think part of it, you're playing very few guys. You're asking a lot of them. You're trying to play faster. And so something's got to give. And I think that, the defensive end is what kind of bent that night because you're trying to keep up. You're trying to score. You're trying to answer whenever they would hit a big shot, and I think that that it gets you a little bit. But the adding depth part or developing depth part is the most fascinating thing that I think has come out of that Butler game, because we've talked about it. I mean, it's like they theoretically, if you could go like make a probably a wrong way to phrase it. If you go make a trade and add like one more guy that you knew was a piece that you could lean on some that fit in, I just think it would be some. But so since you can't do that, you feel pretty comfortable with, it's appeared 7 to 7.5 guys. I think that Kerwin Walton and Lamar Washington are kind of that 1 to 1.5 right now, as it stands right now. Chance McMillan is clearly, off the bench, and then you've got your 5 starters. So, but past that, I mean, can you even it out to where you can get Lamar and Kerwin Walton to be a full 8? I mean, can you get, a full 8-man rotation and really count on those 2 guys night in and night out to where they can give you a little offensive punch, or they give you some quality defense? I don't know. And then, past that, Robert Jennings and EY, and and it appears that Kyron Lindsey and Drew Steffi may be headed to redshirt years, and then that leaves DeMarion Williams. So there's not a whole lot of choices and options right there, because I saw it versus Butler. I saw Grant get frustrated. He turns around, looks at his bench, and he looks down there, looks back, and it's like,
is there anybody down
well,
there? Yeah.
And it's like it comes down to trust. It comes down to what, but you're right. And so, and this will be something and a theme that we'll talk about most of the season, unfortunately. But this is just kind of what you've got to deal with right now.
Yeah, and sort of interesting to note among returners, how many are consistently impacting games. I think the number is about 1. So kind of indicative of where you come from. And I know Lamar Washington can. I hope that as the season progresses, he'll be in that category as well. But
he will.
Some of those other returners, man, slow start. Robert Jennings, where you at, bud? Did you forget your shorts in Lubbock? Is that why they couldn't play you? Because you could take off the warm-up pants? I don't know what's going on there. But anyway, we got to get something out of him. Okay, we'll make a hard left here and get back to a football conversation. Get your lasso out, Chris, because we got a roster roundup. And this is on a couple of different fronts. We'll have some portal thoughts to get into, but also want to touch on something that's just always fun to witness. First, today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Heat up the action and keep the sports flames stoked this winter with America's #1 sportsbook and the official sportsbook of Locked On. There's nothing nicer than cuddling up by the warmth of a nice prop bet or a player parlay. And if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action with their safe, secure, and easy-to-use app where it's all at your fingertips. And of course, when you win with FanDuel, you're always paid instantly. And right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 back if your team wins. You'd be a fool not to take a bite out of that apple. So get to FanDuel.com/lockedon and sign up today for your shot at $150 in bonus bets with any $5 money line bet that hits with FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. And that is a head coach, a program rewarding guys who have given great effort and made an impact and been an integral part of what their team has done throughout the season. You see some of these videos popping up here this time of year, and it was fun to see one of them there come across the Twitter wire or the X wire for Red Raider football as Joey McGuire added 2 new names to the list of scholarship players.
These 2 guys they stand on business. And whenever you go through stuff, I talked to Blanche, and I said, Blanche, how do you get this done? And he said, man, look, coach, if they're in the 2 deep, if they're starting on this, they're starting on that, then they've earned the right, okay? So you're going on scholarship, and you're...
And for those just listening in via podcast, it's Gino Garcia, it's Jordan Brown that he's pointing to there in the video. And Something I just love to see, man. Always tickles me pink. Loved it as a teammate once upon a time, and love to see it now from guys, celebrating their teammates' success, because that's, I think, one of the more underrated, enjoyable parts of being a part of a team, is getting to celebrate others. And you see Tony Bradford immediately out of his chair hugging those guys, and Austin McNamara. Just a lot of fun to see some hard work rewarded.
Yeah, and Gino, what was, this is a no-brainer, really. He's earned it. He sat here in the wings. Now he's emerged as the guy. 14 out of 19 this year. He made all of his extra points. He made clutch field goals. He made some long ones. And I just, and that's one less thing you have to worry about for next year's team, is who your kicker is going to be. I think because the way this thing works is with scholarships, and this is such a muddled thing, but if guys bail out on the team, or like they get injured and you place them on memorials or whatever, there used to be this you can get to 85, but you can only take 25 initially each year. So teams couldn't go sign 30 or 40 kids each year, then flush kids out of the program and constantly do this churn. But the guys on your roster, there's these windows, after each semester, or before a season or whatever, where you kind of have a better feel for your numbers, because you've counted scholarships back, or, hey, they're kind of walking on for a semester until it's very confusing to keep up with it. But I think, there was 2 spots available that you couldn't really give to anybody else, other than your current players, the way that it's all kind of set up. And Gino and Jordan, perfect. I mean, they've both, think about walked on and have done, kind of emerged here. And I think you're both going to lean on them, or lean on both of them going forward. But because Jordan he's one of very few that can get open and it's got some juice and things like that. I think he's got a chance to be a returner for you maybe next year, depending on maybe a punt returner. I don't know. We'll see. As Dre McCray will be, I would guess, a primary kick returner. So, but yeah, thrilled for both of those guys. They deserve it. I think they're big pieces of what you hope to do, not only in the bowl game, but next year.
All right, Chris, on a different front, regarding the roster, what is the hump day headline as we're having this conversation on Wednesday? Transfer portal wise, what's the latest thing getting your attention inside the program or out?
Yeah, great point, because I think there's 2 things that this one was, there was one major headline, and then there was one very much under the radar. So we'll go major headline first. I'm sure most have seen, as these kids start to make the decisions that are in the portal. Now, this is a young man in Tyler Shuck that had a bit of a head start, announced his intentions to enter the portal really before he was the first big name that I think got into the portal, 2-ish weeks ago, or his intention to get in, I should say. Well, that starts the process of kind of, potential suitors and all that. We'd heard UCF. I think Louisville, obviously hosted him. He's going to play for Coach Braum. That's a team that won 10 games this year. They're going to a pretty big bowl game. But yeah, I wish Tyler well. I will say this personally, thrilled that he finds a good spot. Also thrilled that he's not on Texas Tech's schedule. I didn't like the whole Donovan Smith thing last year. I just didn't like it. I hate that. The Baker Mayfield stuff, you didn't have to play Alan Bowman this year. I don't know if I like that dynamic. I get that that's going to continue to happen, but thankfully you avoid that, and all that. Okay. Now the one under the radar move, Brooke Honore enters the portal for Texas Tech, and people are going to go, who the heck is that? Well, there was a time when I would have told you about 6 months to a year ago, this is the heir apparent to Austin McNamara as your punter. He's going to be the Gino Garcia to the Trey Wolf. And I just don't – what I gathered about 2 months ago is that, yeah, nobody was real sure if Brooke was ready to be like the starting punter here, or if they wanted to maybe do a bit better, or maybe he just didn't like it here, something. But I just gathered they would seek a punter from elsewhere. So right now, yeah, you're going to have one punter in the bowl game in Austin McNamara. I assume Brooke Honore won't. I don't know if he'll make the bowl trip or not. But as soon as that game's over, you've got one in the portal. You've got Austin McNamara headed to the hopefully the NFL. And so Kenny Perry and company will have to go find a punter. So this is, you've been blessed with great specialists, but you're going to have to go find one now, and a kid that can do some damage. And hopefully you won't have to use him much because Joey Lyddix and the fourth down crew, that they will hope to keep whoever this unnamed punter is on the sideline.
Oh my God! Don't even get me started on that conversation.
Sorry. I was just joking, man. I was just trying to trigger you.
I don't know. Oh, I could get triggered really, really quick. Say if we were leading the game in the fourth quarter at home and we decided to sit the punter. Anyway, what about other potential Red Raiders showing up on the radar? I'm seeing another tight end mention, Pride and Joy of Groover, Texas, Arizona State guy. Who else is out there?
Well, you've got this is where it starts to be really like nerve-wracking, but also fun because you start to see, okay, we've lost all these pieces. You're trying to upgrade. And I think you have a former Oklahoma and an Arizona State tight end set to visit Jalen Conyers this weekend. Here's the weird one here. Try this one on. He's also considering Oklahoma.
Run it back.
Well, yeah, he left there one time already. I don't know the dynamic. I've heard other people kind of talking about how that's been repaired since he's left, and now he's trying to maybe looking at boomeranging back. But anyway, he's set to visit.
Well, they're also going to the SEC, so not as difficult of a schedule anymore. Maybe he likes that. I don't know.
I don't Calvin just good, man. He just like
it just means more.
Throwing punches, man. I love it, man. He's just going to outlast you. I mean, that's just what Casey does, man.
That's right.
So that's a big one. There's other tight ends on the radar. The one I'm as excited about, he's going to be really tough to get to, is Josh Kelly, wide receiver from Washington State.
Yes.
There's going to be others.
This dude got my attention, man. Over 15 yards per catch, I think.
Well, see, this is what I'm trying to tell people. Like that's the number, man. Like your guys that have departed were like in the 8 to 9 yard range, and but this is you need juice. But I mean, he had 63 catches. I mean, he's got some size to him. He's old. I mean, freaking let's go, man. Like this is, and there was a North Alabama guy that was on on Tech's radar a little bit, or had indicated some interest that, it was like a 1,100 yard receiver. So there's some upgrades out there to be had. But again, what is it cost? Is it a right fit? What are we doing here? So it's just kind of, there's all kinds of dynamics on what's at play here. So, and then you've got like on a day two where the NCAA is like, hey, we're going to make it to where the schools can pay these kids, or propose, which is kind of a fascinating turn of events on everything. So yeah, our sport is in the midst of change. It's changing. It will continue to change, but I think everybody agrees that, the current system needs some help or overseeing or some guardrails, and they're, the parties are trying. But right now you are in the midst of trying to replace some pieces on your roster, and you've got some guys coming in this weekend. And again, with the whole speed dating thing, you will continue.
Yeah, just a classic bureaucratic process. NCAA says, hey, let's get in here and fix this thing a few years ago. So they do something new. And now they got to say, hey, no, we need to fix what we caused by trying to fix the other thing. So this time we'll fix it and we'll actually get it right. I'm sure we can all take them at their word on that. Chris, appreciate the time as always, my man. Enjoyed it. We'll be back on the other side to break down whatever goes down at United Supermarkets Arena tonight. And I'm sure this will not be the final roster roundup. So stay with us. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts so you never miss an episode. We'll see you tomorrow, man.
Keep hope alive, everybody. See you at the arena this evening. Looking forward to it.
Thanks for joining us again, and hope to see you for the next round on Locked On Texas Tech.